Hello everyone, Michael Landfield here. So let's talk about what is the perfect foods to eat pertaining to veganism. Is it cooked vegan foods? Is it processed foods? Is it juicing or smoothies? Is it eating whole fruits? Is it including some green leafy vegetables or nuts and seeds? What is it? So back thousands and thousands of years ago, there was no such thing as processed foods, or at least very little of that, if any. And we really don't know what we ate back then or how healthy we truly were. And so we understand now that we're getting sick, and a lot of it has to do with processed foods. I mean, there's processed everything in the supermarkets, from Twinkies to white rice to apples that have some kind of sugar coating on them, all kinds of things. And yeah, even different types of fruits can be even highly processed. I mean, look at the candy apple, for example. So, processed foods, I know, are not the way to go, for sure. And processed foods can even be anything that is really highly processed, or even moderately processed, or even very little processed. Now, of course, there are studies and science has shown that even cooked foods, cooked vegan foods for that matter, um, have been known to decrease the risk of, certain different diseases like cancer, heart disease, and diabetes. But we really just don't know about cooked food. I mean, cooking our food is not natural. It does something to the food, and when we eat it, we really just don't know what we are getting ourselves into. So, that being said, we really don't know the detrimental effects of eating any kind of cooked food. So, that being said, we really just don't know what the detrimental effects of eating things that are even steamed. Now, steaming seems to be like the best thing. All the cooked food seems to be steaming is the best, but we still don't know what detrimental effects it has on our bodies and immune system. So a lot of people say, well, raw foods is the key. Well, if it's gourmet raw, high fat, and all kinds of oils or salts included in that, it's not very, very healthy. I know because I've eaten those foods at potlucks, and yeah, my body just doesn't feel good. Now, some people say, well, that's just you. Other people, it has, doesn't really harm them as much. And it's like, or it doesn't harm them at all. But I can attest, I tried everything, and I feel so good when I'm doing two things actually. When I'm making smoothies, and very simple smoothies just from fruit, or maybe a little bit of greens or a little bit of herbs in there. I also find that not just including smoothies, but including whole fruits. So if I'm eating a whole pineapple, that is really, really great. So I'm not saying that this in particular, eating just fruit or eating smoothies is the cure and it's the best diet ever and it's the best food ever, and not for everybody. Now, people's bodies and diets and immune systems are totally out of whack. We're so toxic, and people say so many different things because there's so many different conflicting messages within the vegan kind of movement. If it's to do with ethics or if it's to do with environmental issues or health issues, I think health is the biggest um, there's so many different areas of health and different opinions on health and nutrition, and we just really don't know what to think, and we're so confused. We don't know what's good and what's not good and so forth. But the consensus points to one thing, and even mainstream health professionals say that yes, we should be consuming our fruits and vegetables. And when they say that, they don't say cooked or they don't say raw. They just say consume your fruits and vegetables, and preferably raw, because we just don't know what the cooking process really does, what it does to our bodies, what negative effects it has on our bodies. Now, if we are out in nature, we ultimately know that yes, we can probably eat, as much watermelon as we possibly can, or we can eat many bananas, ripe bananas as we can, or we can eat as many, berries as we can. But we can't do that when we're eating things like grains unless we cook it or sprout it or something to manipulate that, to be able to consume that piece of food. We also can't do it eating, consuming oil or salt. And in fact, a lot of these foods that we have to eat cooked, we have to put usually oil or salt in them. Now we can consume them without oil and salt and put all kinds of fruits like tomatoes or onions or other things into the food. But ultimately, yeah, these are not foods. I mean, if we can't eat them by themselves raw, then are they really food? So that's the thing. In nature, if we don't have a stove and if we don't have any way to, to create fire, then unfortunately, it's not really food. So the way I see it is try different things, try long term, even 30 days, 60 days, a certain diet, and see what works for you. But for me, for sure, fruits is number one. Now, we need to get them as ripe as possible, eating them. Of course, not spoiled, not rotten, etc., etc. But eating them as raw and ripe as possible, and also to realize that the quality of the fruit as well really matters. We also need to realize that sometimes we may need to consume water as well, in addition to the fruits. Some people may not, some people may, but it is recommended to consume, um, to add in some, some kind of purified water. Okay. So I think fruits is like number one for me, anyways. And uh, for a long enough period, people will also attest to that if you do it a long enough period. Whole fruits is better, but you can definitely uh, make a smoothie out of it as well. And making it very simple, like um, mango and bananas. Mix that up, okay? Or mango, papaya, and bananas, or things like that, okay? Maximum three types of fruits, maybe a little bit greens in there, or herbs, or things like that. But people say, well, what about I cannot eat just sweet fruits all day. Well, there's also cucumbers, there's also tomatoes, and there's also very amazing salads that you can make from fruits, like spiralized apples and cucumbers and zucchinis and all this kind of stuff. And if you really want that savory kind of salty taste, just eat salads then. Eat like green salads, like green leafy vegetable salads with all kinds of, you know, uh, cut up cabbage and things like that make it crunchy and make it really nice, and spiralize your fruits and put them in with the salad. You can have green salad with spiralized apple and carrots and maybe zucchini and maybe some, spiralized cucumber and all that kind of stuff. So there's so many different options. But the more whole foods you eat, the more whole, raw, ripe fruits you eat, whole, I mean, like not blending and not juicing is the best thing. Now, if you want to get rid of cravings, all these other things, that is a whole another story for another time, another video, because I don't have that much time to spend here on this video. But basically, people ask me, well, what is better, juicing or smoothies? Well, if you're on the beginning stages, I would say juicing would be the best thing. Do it for, it really depends on what stage and what toxicity level you're at. If you come all the way from eating animal products, then you may want to transition slowly to veganism. Or maybe if you want to go to raw veganism right away, I mean, I don't recommend that. But if you want to, you can do some juicing or you can do some fasting or things like that. But then what I mean by juicing, I mean by like buying a slow masticating juicer with twin gear and do that. It's going to be expensive. It's going to be at least $300-400, but it's going to be worth it. Now, if you don't have the money and you don't want to spend all that money, get a decent blender. I would say get a vacuum blender. Any kind of vacuum blender is going to be better than no vacuum blender. It retains more nutrients. It keeps the smoothie for longer. All that kind of stuff. I have the BioChef Air Free. I'm going to post the link down below where you can buy it. BioChef Air Free. I really recommend it for beginners, intermediate use, and even for experts and advanced. People that have been juicing and making smoothies for a long time, I really recommend that. Okay, I don't recommend to buy anything new except for this blender. It's incredible. Okay, so support BioChef. They do a really great job. Okay, so juicing versus blending. From what I was told and what I've learned, juicing is the way to transition into a better diet. Okay, so if you really want to do a lot of elimination and remove all those toxins and just get your body back into its peak condition, then you're going to want to juice as much as you can, and a slow masticating juicer. Okay, and basically do that. Now, if you're a person who feels they're pretty healthy and they don't really have any signs of any illness or anything like that, then just slowly transition into cooked veganism and then go there and add in more and more and more raw foods. Now, people tend to say that juicing is the best, and they continue eating cooked foods, and they continue eating, foods that we're not supposed to be eating, like onions and garlic and things like that. But people think it's really healthy, but it's really not. Even things like hot peppers in large quantities is not good for us. So any kind of hot pepper, I mean, even in small quantities, I find it's not really that great. And when I even limit or eliminate completely overt fats, I think sometimes that's even good, but not to overdo it for a long period of time. You still want to include some overt fats. And I mean whole food fats like avocados, akis, durians, things like that. Nuts and seeds, unfortunately, are still, most commercial varieties are still highly processed and they're heated in some way. So basically, we want to stick to having natural whole foods. Okay, nuts and seeds, yes, you can probably grow them, but um, again, it's like it's hard to eat a lot because just the processing itself, it has to be processed, nuts and seeds, no matter what. I mean, I took off some almonds from the tree in a beach, and I tried to open them, and it took me like at least 15 or 20 minutes to open just one nut. So it's not sustainable at all. You can't eat a whole handful. Even if it says raw on it, it's usually not raw. So forget it, okay? And they're usually expensive anyway. So the whole idea is to get as cheap fruit as possible, the best quality, the cheapest as possible if you're on a budget. and just to basically consume as much raw foods as possible. And I'm not talking about like raw powders and raw, all kinds of raw supplements and stuff. I'm talking about raw, fresh fruits and vegetables, ripe, raw, fresh fruits and vegetables, especially, um, especially fruits. So basically, you want to, according to Dr. Douglas Graham and the 80-10-10 diet, and a lot of people put him off because he's not supposedly a real doctor or things like that. But he has a lot of experience, and who knows really how much raw food he's eating. We really don't know anything about him. I mean, he says one thing, but you never know. So, um, I would say include at least 90% of your diet coming from fruits. Fruits, again, can be sweet fruits like bananas, mangoes, avocados. Sorry, not avocados, but nectarines, plums, peaches, uh, things like that. Black sapote, mame sapote, apple, mame apple, all these things, okay? And then non-sweet fruits like cucumbers, zucchinis, um, tomatoes, etc. Then we have um, vegetables. If you want to include that in your regime, you can do that, and that would of course be leafy greens. Any tender leafy greens, tender vegetables. Um, yeah, I mean even peppers are fruits because they have seeds in them. Um, Leafy greens, any kind of leafy greens, preferably light leafy greens like iceberg lettuce, romaine lettuce, and Boston lettuce, things like that. Maybe with the harder, more tougher greens like kale and things like that, we can't really digest them, and so it's good to juice them. So once in a while, if you want to have a juice in the morning, let's say you don't eat a lot in the mornings, you just want to have a juice. You can have an orange juice, you can have a green juice, you can have a apple juice, whatever you like, really. But the whole thing is not to rely on juices because juices basically um, removes the fiber, and it's not natural in nature to be consuming things without fiber, without the whole fruit intact. So, according to people like Lauren Lockman and others, water fasting is actually a great way to transition to a completely raw, whole food, plant-based or vegan way of eating. So, again, it may seem all so complicated because I'm talking about so many different things and I'm, jumping from one place to another. But basically, you want to eat fruits and vegetables, okay, and emphasize more on the fruits, especially the sweet fruits at night with the fruits like tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchinis, etc. Eat as much raw food as possible, whole, so do not make smoothies or juices. If you want smoothies, you can have, let's say, I mean, it's always good to consume the food in its whole form, okay, as little processing as possible. So your apples, your pears, your peaches, whatever, eat them the way they are, okay? Try to grow them yourself, of course, but eat them the way they are. And if you want to have a smoothie once in a while, let's say, a couple of glasses every day, that's fine, but the more whole fruits you eat, the better. And eat them slow and really mindfully eat them. Of course, grow it yourself or get organic. Grow your own veganically without any animal inputs or chemicals. So that is my suggestions for this video, everybody, on what to eat and what is the best foods to eat possible. Some people will say differently, but ultimately, everybody, even mainstream science and mainstream doctors, will say eat your fruits and veggies. And it's very true. They don't say eat your candy bars or eat your cotton candy or eat your, rice and beans. They don't say that. They say eat your fruits and veggies. It's only the corporations or the manufacturers that promote the eggs and promote the fish and promote anything else that's unhealthy. Of course, we want to go slow in our journey. We want to also not be hard on ourselves. So let's, do this. Include as much raw fruits and vegetables in our diets as we possibly can. If we're still eating cooked food, that's okay. Just try to limit every day and limit and limit and limit until we, eat as much raw fruits and vegetables as you can. You'll feel better and all that. And of course, even one cooked meal will hinder the healing process. So just remember that. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any tips or any suggestions, then please do post them down below this video in the comment section. Again, don't forget to like this video, share it around with all your friends and family who might find it useful and helpful, and subscribe to the YouTube channel and to the email newsletter. And do get my books as well. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon, everybody. Take care.